Dragon Ball Z fans, please listen to me. Understand what I'm saying. I am a Dragon Ball Z fan. I like all of Dragon Ball. All Dragon Ball content is good content to me. But if we being honest and we ranking the Dragon Ball Z animated series, Daima is at the bottom of the list. Let's not waste no time. Let's get into it. First on the list would have to be Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z was peak. It is not just nostalgia. When you look at how that show was written, you can tell that it was very intentionally written and it has serious stakes. The writing of everything and the way everything was executed was incredibly tight all the way up into the last arc, which was the Buu arc, which is arguably the weakest arc of Dragon Ball Z. But Dragon Ball Z is at the very, very top. Next on that list, you get OG Dragon Ball that laid the foundation for everything that we've seen and introduced us to all our characters. You had the innocence, you had probably some of the better fighting scenes in the entire anime of Dragon Ball in OG Dragon Ball. So yes, OG Dragon Ball second on that list. Dragon Ball Super gets the third slot. Now listen, the weakest points when we talk about Z or we talk about Super is the fact that they cheaped out on a lot of the animation in Super as well as some of the animations that we saw in Z. But Super belongs right where it is. It is better than GT. It is better than Daima. The only problem with Super is that it had such a short run and it needs to be revisited. And you need to give us more. We need to see the Moro arc. We need to see the superhero movie play out in the proper timeline. We need to see all of that stuff. Gas, Granola, Black Frieza, all that in Dragon Ball Super. It needs to be continued. That's the only real criticism of it. As well as, they rehashed the movies just a little bit too much in the Super animated show, but it's fine. I was fine with it. Super belongs right below OG Dragon Ball. And then you get to the bottom of the list, and the bottom of the list is Dragon Ball GT and Dragon Ball Daima. I put GT above Daima, not because GT was so much better than Daima, but because it was the originator. Daima feels like Toriyama's version of GT. It is him finding a way to make all the characters kids because he liked or loved the kid version of Goku the most. Then he finds a way to give them a new set of Dragon Balls to pursue. And then he puts new characters along with them that fit the exact same archetypes of characters that he's already done. In GT, you had Pan, the granddaughter, being annoying, being around, and doing things to drive the story forward. In Daima, you have Pan Z, a girl who is basically the demon world version of Bulma. Like, she works on machines and she introduces Goku to this world and he's so strange to her, and it felt just like watching the beginnings of OG Dragon Ball as well as GT when I was watching Daima. But the final two arcs of Dragon Ball GT is what sets it above everything that we saw in Daima, in my opinion. The fact that we got Super 17, which was really, really good. You have the Shadow Dragon arc, which gave a whole lot of stakes and meaningful things to the series. When we talk about GT, the fact that at the end of GT, you can feel emotion. Even if you didn't love the series, it felt final. The fact that Goku flies off with Shenron, characters fade into obscurity, Han has aged, and we see the legacy kind of continuing, and that's it. There's no more Dragon Ball. It felt final. I watched it years later as an old man, and I felt something to see Goku fly off with Shenron, knowing that, hey, this is how this story ends and it's final. There's something to that. Having stakes in your show, there's something to that. When we finally arrive at the bottom of the list and we have Daima at the bottom of the list, again, I feel like this is Akira Toriyama's version of GT, because you get Super Saiyan 4, you get Vegeta with Super Saiyan 3. Cool enough, cool moments, but it's nothing that we haven't seen before, as well as the stakes feel non-existent here. This happens at a time period between the end of Dragon Ball Z, not with Oob, but the end of Dragon Ball Z and the beginning of Dragon Ball Super. So we know everyone here is going to survive. We know that all the stuff that happens here is going to be inconsequential when it comes to the canon of Dragon Ball and all of that. And so it takes all the weight that could be real in the story completely out of the story. You know, Vegeta gets swallowed by a Kraken type monster. It's like, Vegeta's gonna survive this. There's no tension in this. Goku gets shot by these little laser blasters and he's paralyzed, or he hits the light gate and it shocks him and he's falling. And then Neba comes out and removes the gates at the last second. But it's like, Goku's gonna survive this because we know where the story goes from here. Having Daima set where it's set takes away from what Daima could have been, and it takes, again, the stakes, the things that makes things meaningful, having consequences. It takes all that out of it, in my opinion, and that's why it's at the bottom of the list. If we ever get anything else with Daima, like a continuation of Demon World Adventures, maybe it could redeem itself and move up the list and past GT. But at the moment, there's nothing about Daima that makes it better than GT, just because of the stakes that were existent in GT and the finality that you feel at the end of GT. Whereas when they at the end of Daima, you know, like, oh, okay, we're gonna move right along and we'll never see some of this stuff again. Now, if you're talking about theme songs, that's something very different, because when we talk about theme songs, I think GT probably has the best theme song. Daima probably would be right behind that. Then maybe Super, then Dragon Ball Z, and then OG Dragon Ball has the absolute worst theme song, in my opinion. But if you want to debate that, if you want to debate the different rankings of the anime series in the comment section, you want to talk about theme songs in the comment section, we can jump into that. We can talk about those things. I would love to do that with you. But that's all I got for this one, y'all. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, and go watch something good.